Welcome back, wannabes and creators, to a very special episode of The Complete Creative, the podcast that helps you build and sustain a better creative business. So we are about to end our latest Kickstarter for Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, The Terrible Twos. And it has gone very well. We funded last Friday, and now we are just about to enter those last 48 hours where we hope for a rush of new fans to come in and help push us over our next set of stretch goals. And I thought probably a lot of you want to run your own Kickstarters or want to run your own Kickstarters better. So I am pulling a very special episode out of the archives, which is 31 Kickstarter tips to help you run a better campaign on your next go-around. These are the best Kickstarter tips that I have found, and I hope you enjoy them. They came out originally as 31 separate tips over 31 days, and now I am consolidating it all into one bonus-packed mega episode. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, you can get our free Kickstarter course at thecompletecreative.com/FKC. And you can check out our Kickstarter at CthulhuIsHardToSpell.com. I hope you will come join the madness with us. And now, here's our 31 tips. Today's tip is to start early. You should be building your audience for at least 3 months before you launch a campaign. You can't be successful in crowdfunding without a crowd before you start. That means showing off your project, starting Facebook groups, building up your social media contacts, and building a newsletter. The more time you have to build your network and prep them for a Kickstarter project that's coming in the future, the more likely they will be to back your campaign when it's time. The more people know, like, and trust you, the more likely they are to buy from you. Today's tip is to send individual thank you notes to the people who back you. This is during the campaign. When somebody gives you their hard-earned money, it's only polite to say thank you. It's very easy for us to treat our backers as money, a commodity, and nothing more. I mean, most of them are giving less than $20. But that money is so important to every single person, and it's very important for us, the cumulative effect on our campaign being successful. So we need to not think of these people as money and think of them as people, because that's exactly what they are. And by adding that little human touch, you'll improve your connection with them. You'll show them that their money is valuable, that you value them, and you'll have a fan for life, which is what we're really trying to do with Kickstarter. Trying to build a connection between you and your audience so that you can find people who dig what you are doing. On top of being the right thing to do, we'll also stem the loss of backers towards the middle and end of your campaign because you're making that connection. Most people back way more projects than they can ever fund at the end of a month. So by making that connection with them, you're going to be able to retain a lot more backers than somebody that doesn't. So the advantage of this tip is twofold. One, it's what you should do as a decent human being. And two, it will make you more money and help you from losing a lot of money during the middle and end of your campaign. Today's tip is that stretch goals should always improve the quality of your product. Most people have tons of problems with stretch goals. They end up giving away bookmarks and prints and t-shirts and all sorts of other crap. But here's the thing. People don't give a shit about that. What they want is an awesome product. So let's just take an example of this. You make a 100-page soft cover comic. Your first stretch goal should not be bookmarks. It should not be t-shirts. It should not be prints. You can do something like adding extra pages to the end of your book. Back matter pages. These are pages you should already have. Sketches, script to final page, alternate covers, maybe page that didn't make the book. All sorts of stuff that you already have. Stretch goal 2. Maybe you want to add an extra story. So now your book is not 100 pages, it's 110, and this story makes it 120. Maybe your third stretch goal turns something in from a soft cover into a hardcover. Maybe your next one is to, instead of making a regular size comic, you make an oversized comic. Meanwhile, the original backer is still paying the same amount for their pledge and getting more. So if you charge $20 for that soft cover comic, now they're getting an oversized hardcover comic for the same price. Now, if you're going to do this, you must plan this as if you're going to get the highest reward. So instead of doing $20 for a soft cover, you may do $25. And you want to make it clear from the beginning that you're offering a soft cover, but your super duper stretch goal is to make it an oversized hardcover. And the oversized hardcover is going to be $35, but they're only going to pay $25. And even though the soft cover may be a little bit expensive, if they get all the way to the oversized hardcover, they're going to be getting an enormous deal. They're now, instead of getting a 100-page story, getting a 120-page story because you added 2 additional stories, and they're going from soft cover to oversized hardcover. That sort of thing is going to make people flip out. It's going to make them want to work harder for you because now they're getting a value every time they hit a goal. From doing 4 different projects, the only stretch goal that has ever gotten anybody super excited is the first one I ever did, which was to add extra back matter pages to the Ichabod Joe's Monster Hunter. That got people to back at a huge rate. Every time I've done bookmarks or prints or sketch cards or any of that garbage, it's been an expense for me. No one's ever seemed to appreciate it, and it hasn't helped move the needle forward. So if you're going to make stretch goals, make sure they improve the quality of your core offer. Today's tip is to keep your rewards simple. There's no need to add multiple options for similar items. Each reward should be targeted to a specific buyer and have enough space, by space I mean monetary space, between them to clearly delineate the right buyer for that product. I recommend you start with a $1, $10, $25, $50, and $250 reward for a standard book. That's a novel or graphic novel. Obviously, certain products are not going to fall in that range. Something like a drone is going to be much more expensive. But for a publishing product, these 5 categories should be your base, assuming that you're doing a complete book and not a single issue. The great news is you can always add more later. If there is demand for it, then add more as time goes on, but start off simple. Today's tip is to make deposits into the Goodwill bank before you make a withdrawal. Goodwill is a finite resource. Now, when I say Goodwill, what I mean is you're going to be doing a lot of posting during the course of your campaign. You're going to be asking a lot of people. You're going to be asking for people to donate their hard-earned money to your campaign. And it can get really old really quickly. The way that you mitigate that is by giving value to people before you ever ask something of them. So this can come in a lot of forms. It could be a webcomic that you give out every day for free. It can be a podcast. It can be a blog. It can be simple advice that you're giving. It can be helping people move. But you need to be giving goodwill to people when you aren't launching a product, because you are going to be withdrawing that goodwill when you are doing a Kickstarter campaign. Part of the reason why I do all of the goodwill gestures that I do, besides the fact that I love it, is because I launch a lot of products a year. I am incredibly annoying. About 4 times a year, I'll launch an informational product. I'll launch a Kickstarter. I'll launch someone else's book. And that gets real old real fast. So the only way that I can justify it or stomach myself being able to do that is because I am giving so much back to the community. I'm organizing cons. I'm doing podcasts. I'm speaking at events. I'm doing a whole lot to help this community grow. And in order to do that, I need to launch products because I got to eat. I got to pay my mortgage. So this tip is about overall giving 10 times more value than you ever ask for. You should be delivering so much value to your friends, family, and audience that they will gladly give you money, that they think it's the least that they could do because of everything that you've done for them. But here's the trick. You can't be douchey about it. You can't go out and say, oh, well, I'm just doing this because in 3 months or 6 months I'm launching a product. You have to legitimately just help for the sake of helping because you love it. I do this podcast not because I launch products, but because I want to help the community. I would do it if nobody listened. And I know I would do it because nobody listened, because nobody does fucking listen. I would speak at events. I do all of these things with no expectation that it will ever come back to me. However, because I don't have an expectation of that, it does come back to me. Very few people complain when I launch a product because I give so much to the community. Even if it's annoying, and it is annoying, it's a small price to pay for as much value as I give. I hope that's the case. That's the theory, at least. A lot of people will do a favor for somebody with the expectation that they're going to immediately turn around and do a favor for you or for them. And that's horrible. Everybody hates those people. You have to give freely in order for this to work. But you need to make deposits in the Goodwill Bank. And then you can withdraw from that Goodwill Bank. And then you have to refill that Goodwill Bank. And then you can withdraw from that Goodwill Bank. You have to make those deposits first, just like at a bank. You can't withdraw something you don't have. So that's my tip for today. Make deposits in the Goodwill Bank. I would caveat that with saying you have to make it freely. You cannot have an expectation that it's going to come back to you. You absolutely can't do it with the expectation that it's going to come back to you from the exact people that you help or in the quantity that you gave. You have to give it freely with no expectations. And if you can do that, which is very, very, very hard, then you will see it come back to you when it is time for you to launch a product. Today's tip is don't overextend yourself on merchandise, especially once a project is funded. And by funded, I mean is 100% funded, not at the end of their campaign. Creators generally go crazy offering all sorts of merchandise, things like t-shirts, mugs, and other very high-priced items that cut into their margins. The problem is that when you offer all of these merchandising choices, especially as stretch goals, you're going to go into the red. And here's the truth. Merchandising is unnecessary on almost all projects, unless you have a well-known brand. A good example of using merchandising well is a recent Kickstarter for Tales of Mr. Ree by Dirk Manning. Dirk had a well-known fan base. He's a well-known creator. So he did a coffee mug and some special brew coffee as one of his rewards. I think that's perfectly fine. But it's because he has a brand. If you don't have a brand, just focus on making a great single product. If you need stretch goals, figure out how to make that product better. If you make that product better, you're going to get more backers, and the people that have backed you already are going to be more excited to share it with their audience. If you must make merchandise, don't make anything with multiple sizes. The way to keep merchandising costs down is to order in bulk. And if you need things like small, medium, and large t-shirts, the price per unit is going to be much higher because you're not ordering massive quantities of any of them. Also note that if you offer merchandise, you can no longer ship your product media mail. Merchandising in almost all instances is more of a hassle than it's worth. today's tip is to keep your video under 3 minutes. You should really be under 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but a lot of people complain when I tell them this, so it absolutely drop dead must be under 3 minutes. But it really should be under 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And why? Because your video is a commercial, and nobody can stand a commercial for even 15 seconds, so the thought that they could do it for 5 minutes is insane. Doesn't matter how amazing the commercial, you're not going to deal with it for more than 3 minutes. And besides, you can say everything that needs to be said in under 3 minutes. Yes, you'll have to edit yourself down. Please, God, edit yourself down. I don't understand why y'all don't edit yourself down. I'm bored by my own speech for 3 minutes. And I have a podcast. I've gotten exceedingly good at doing this 4 or 5 times. I guarantee there are very few people in the world that you would want to hear talk, really ramble for 3 straight minutes. So edit yourself down. There are plenty of free programs like iMovie, which can take out all the ums, ahs, and make you sound really good and professional. And if you're trying to make a professional product, you need a professional video. You need to make your case clearly, concisely, and succinctly so people don't tune it out and they know exactly what they need to do. Also should script it out before you ever start. So there it is. The tip for today is keep your video under 3 minutes, no rambling, edit yourself down, and make it look professional. Today's tip is to add lots of images to your campaign. The average successful Kickstarter has 11 images in its campaign page. Even if you have something like a novel, there are plenty of images that you can add besides your cover. You can add a photo of yourself. You can add quotes overlaid on top of royalty-free images. You can add silly memes. I believe for our first Kickstarter this year for My Father Didn't Kill Himself, I had a little koala in a tree and said, I have all the koalifications. So you can do cute things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be photos from your book, but if you get someone to design characters for you or design images for you, it will go very, very far to convincing people to back your campaign. We are a visual species, and pictures help improve your stature in somebody's mind and make it look more professional. You will stand out from the crowd if you add more images. Keep your text concise. People that start Kickstarters love using huge blocks of text, but that is ugly to the eye. Look, your Kickstarter campaign is like a marketing pitch. So everything has to be concise and precise. You can't use long paragraphs, as you can't muddle your paragraphs together. Remember what we learned in school. A paragraph has a main sentence with a main point, 2 to 3 sentences that support that main point, and a concluding sentence together. The same thing is true with your paragraphs on Kickstarter. You have a thesis paragraph with your main point, your hypothesis, and then you have 2 to 3 paragraphs that support that hypothesis, and then a concluding paragraph. It's just like we learned in school, just a little bit sexier. And remember, your hypothesis is that you will love this product and you should buy it. So if that's your hypothesis, you have to support that with evidence. Why is this product cool? Today's tip is to send updates often on Kickstarter. Most people worry that they're going to turn off their backers by updating all of the time. However, the truth is that most people don't get your updates. Either it will go through their email or they just will forget. So you need to update them often with new information, at least every 3 days. The average successful Kickstarter campaign has 10 or more updates. So you want to update on a regular 30-day campaign at least 10 times or every 3 days. However, you want to make sure that these updates give new fun information. So Whether you're doing daily giveaways or weekly contests or whatever it is, you want to make sure that you have a reason to communicate with people. Most people hate mailing lists, but in truth, mailing lists are great if you want to receive the information. So you just have to make sure that you make your information interesting to the people receiving it. This is going to be hard to hear, but you don't have to do your dream project first. Most people on Kickstarter want to do the $10,000, $20,000, or $100,000 goal right off the bat. Here's the problem with that. You probably don't have the fan base to support that goal. People that are doing $100,000 Kickstarters have spent years, sometimes decades, sometimes multiple of them have spent multiple decades building an audience in order to get to that goal. And that's okay. If you can only raise $500, you can raise $500. Make a project that you can do for $500. And then every project will increase from there. On top of that, you might not want to do your dream project first. Because here's the cold, hard truth. When you start out, you're not as good as you need to be. So your first project's not going to be as good as your 10th project. So if you have a dream project, why wouldn't you want to do it when you're at the top of your game? Your goal for your first project should be to get your feet wet and learn the ropes. It's not to stress yourself out chasing that impossible dream. You have your entire career to build up to your dream project. And that's it for today. I know that was a little bit hard to hear, but the great news is if you start today and just get something you can make, then you can get your dream project in the future. And in the future, it will be a better project because you will have learned more. Pledge to other projects before yours starts. Kickstarter is a community, and people want to see you are an active backer and involved in that community before they're willing to pledge to your campaign. I currently have something like 150 pledges to Kickstarter because I love funding new projects and new cool things. And that love and that passion comes through when it's time to launch your project. If you love a community and you foster that community, you help that community grow, it will give back to you 10 times what you give to it. I see all the time people launching projects, having backed 0 campaigns or 4 campaigns. That's just not enough. I want to see you've backed 20, 30, 40 campaigns because it shows you're a member of the community, that you're not just using Kickstarter for the money. You're part of that community. And if you're part of that community, I'm happy to give to you. Additionally, if you do back a lot of projects, once yours launches, you can message them and ask for that campaign creator to introduce you to their audience. Since you've backed their campaign, they're much more likely to help you out. It's almost as if you're buying their time by contributing to their campaign. You're saying that your time is valuable and your audience is valuable. So you should really do it just for the love of it and the fact that you're trying to foster a community and you dig how Kickstarter works. But there is a business reason to do it as well, which is if you back a campaign, you can much more easily go to them and get their support when your campaign launches. Today's tip is to consider your category carefully. Some categories have much more active community members than others. Tech, design, and comics are 3 that have very active communities, which means people are on the site looking for cool new projects. Something like publishing has very few active community members, which means you're not going to get as big a bump from the community because they're not on there looking for new cool projects. So you want to make sure you get a sense of the community before you choose the category and the subcategory of your project. Today's tip: start on a Tuesday and end on a Thursday. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no reason why this is the case, but data shows that the best day to start a Kickstarter is Tuesday, and the best day to end a Kickstarter is Thursday. Now, as far as the starting day is concerned, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday all fall within a margin of error. So, between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they're all relatively the same. Tuesday is a little bit better. However, Thursday is far and away the best day to end a campaign. I would like to tell you why this is the case. I have some speculations, but they are only speculations. The first is, when you send email at a business, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are the best days to send email. Thursday is the best day for responding to email and getting a response because everyone wants to clear out their inbox before Friday so they don't have to think about it over the weekend. So something tells me that there's something in that psychology. We're already trained to get emails and important emails and respond to them Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but Thursday is the day that we tend to respond to the most important requests and make sure we're clearing out our week so that we don't have to think about things on the weekend. Again, I will say this is all speculation. All I know is that the data says and shows and bears out that Tuesday is the best day to start a campaign, though again within a margin of error. Wednesday and Thursday also good days, but Thursday is by far and away the best day to end a campaign. And here's my motto. I don't care so much about the why. I just care about making something that is effective. So I'm here to tell you what is the most effective. And right now, the most effective is start on a Tuesday, end on a Thursday. We could spend the next 10 hours talking about why, but at the end of the day, all you guys have to know is Tuesday is the best day to start. Well, Wednesday and Thursday aren't so bad either. And Thursday is the best day to end. Today's tip is to post more on social media than you think necessary by a factor of 10. People are so worried about angering or disappointing or frustrating their social media network that they just don't post enough. Here's the deal. Only about 3% of people see your Facebook posts. Twitter has a shelf life of 15 minutes. So the people you think you are going to annoy probably haven't even seen one of your posts. I post a lot on social media, and sometimes people tell me that they haven't seen anything that I've done on week 3. Now, if I'm posting 10 times a day on Facebook and 50 times a day on Twitter, and 3 weeks later someone's saying, I didn't even know you had a campaign, that should tell you that you are not posting nearly enough. Yes, it might annoy some people, but they will forgive you if you've taken the previous tips into account and given value first. You want to post when people back your campaign. You want to post when you've hit a milestone. You want to post more than you think necessary, but make sure you are posting new and interesting, relevant content each time. This is how you get over people being annoyed. If you're posting new content each time, with new milestones or new information or new imagery, then people have something new to look at. It's not just being droned on and on and on. You're making it fun and interesting for them, and they will welcome being touched. People like being touched by new information. They just don't like the same information being thrown at them over and over and over again. This is why McDonald's and other huge companies have many, many different ads and many, many different campaigns going at any one time, because they don't want to overwhelm a person with the same exact information. You need to raise 30% of your fundraising goal in the first 48 hours. So for us, we're trying to raise $1,000. That means we need to raise at least $300 in the first 48 hours in order to guarantee success. If your campaign raises under 20%, then your project is going to have a tough uphill battle in order to raise its goal. If you've raised more than 50%, then it means you probably undershot. For us, last time in the first week, we raised $1,200 in the first week. So we're hoping this time to raise $1,200 in the first 48 hours, which means we'll overshoot our goal, which is okay. It is not bad to overshoot your goal. You just have to deal with stretch goals and knowing that a lot of people aren't going to back after you fund it, especially on your first campaign, because you have reached your goal. So the goal, the sweet spot is if you can raise 30% of your funds in the first 48 hours, you are well on pace to getting to your goal. In fact, it's nearly a guarantee that you will raise your goal if you hit 30% in the first 48 hours. Most campaigns are pretty good about describing what their product is. Some can even clearly discuss how they are going to bring the product to market. But almost none convey why people should back their project or why they are uniquely qualified to bring their product to market. The why is why people back, though. People are much more likely to back an unfinished product with a compelling why than a finished product that has none. The why is different for every product. Maybe the why is that you don't see something on the market and you see a need. Maybe it's because you promised someone that you were going to make a book and then they died. The why needs to be personal for you, and more importantly, it needs to be personal for the backer. They have to connect emotionally with the product that you are offering. If you can convey the why, you will get more backers and more interest and more ardent supporters. Bring the passion. If you can't show passion for your product in your video, on your landing page, and in your copy, then nobody else is going to get passionate about your project either. However, if you can love your project 100% and then convey that to an audience, your passion is going to translate to more ardent and fervent backers. I'll be honest, somewhere between 10 and 25% of our sales come from my passion alone. It comes from people saying, wow, this product must be good because nobody could ever love something that sucked this much. So if this guy likes it and I like this guy, I'm going to give it a shot. So you have to bring the passion every day to every update, to every video, to everything that you do. Your passion is contagious, as is your lack of it. Today's tip is to make sure to calculate shipping carefully. Almost 10% of successfully funded products fail to deliver their product. Even those that do deliver often end up in the red because of shipping. Lots of things can go wrong when you're shipping a product. Rates can go up in just a couple of months. International rates can change. There are different tiers of international rate depending on what country you're shipping to. Sometimes stretch goals prevent you from being able to ship a book media mail. Media mail is for CDs, books, and other media products. It is not for shipping t-shirts, posters, or other things that are not media. Additionally, speaking of posters and t-shirts, sometimes when you're shipping those kinds of things, it adds to the weight or dimension of the box. And when dimensions change or weight changes, shipping rates change also. Shipping is calculated by size of the package that you're shipping and weight of the product that you're shipping. So there's a lot that can happen when you're making a product and shipping it. And make sure to calculate your shipping carefully. Check to see if there's any upcoming shipping changes as far as rates go, and make sure to calculate international shipping and any stretch goals into the price of your package. Remember, once someone pledges, you are not going to be able to change how much they are paying. So make sure to calculate stretch goals into the cost of your product and everything into the cost of those tiers. Today's tip is that Kickstarter takes 10% off the top of any campaign. They take 5% for their fees and 3 to 5% for all processing fees through their credit card vendor. You have to take this into account. Adding 10% more buffer to your campaign prevents you being in the red after you've shipped everything. So for us, if we've done our job, $3,500, $350 of that will go straight to Kickstarter and their credit card processing people. But even if we raised $400, still $40 is gone. So take that into account. It's incredibly important. Today's tip is that transparency is key. If something goes wrong in your campaign, or if it goes right, tell your backers about it. If you have something to say, say it. Don't hide anything. People are very forgiving if you are just honest with them. In fact, that honesty, that humility, and that transparency leads to better, more engaged backers because they feel an emotional connection to you. And as we learned earlier, emotional connections are the key to getting people to pledge to your campaign. If they feel emotionally connected and invested in you, they will back willingly, and they will back gladly. Today's tip is to schedule posts before your campaign begins. I've talked about this a couple of times on this program before. I'm recording this a month before you're going to hear it. So currently my campaign is launching on August 23rd. It is August 15th, and I'm recording this podcast, so I have everything set. So I have a base of posts before my campaign begins. Lots of stuff happens during your campaign, and you want to be prepared for any eventuality. So I'm not saying record 31 podcasts in 31 days, but whatever you're going to do as your social media strategy and your online strategy, make sure you have a base of information that's going to go out at any one time. You can do this through Social Jukebox. You can do this through Buffer. You can do this through Hootsuite. You can do this through TweetDeck and a whole bunch of others. But get a base of posts, a base of images, at least one different one per day. You can supplement that with other things that are happening throughout your campaign and other posts that you're going to go out through your backers and through your mailing list. But make sure you have something as a base just in case the worst happens and you can't get to it for a day. You don't want to be fretting about what you're going to post when your Kickstarter goes live and all of the backers start overwhelming you. So today's tip is to double check your rewards carefully before your campaign goes live. Once somebody backs at a certain pledge level, you can never change it again. So if you forgot to add international shipping, tough tookus. If you charge too much for domestic shipping, you can't do anything about it. If there's errors, spelling, grammar, there's nothing you can do once your campaign is live. So double, triple, quadruple check it before you ever put your campaign out there. Send it out to friends and family when you have a preview link, and just make sure you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. An ounce of preparation is priceless. Today's tip is to give early bird perks to your first day backers. The first 40 hours are critical to the success of a campaign. So it makes sense to reward those people who back early because they are critical to your success. It doesn't have to be much. Maybe the first day backers get a free wallpaper. Or maybe they get a digital reward before anybody else. Maybe they get a sticker. It doesn't have to be much, but that little gesture helps push people over the edge to back early. And not just because you're being nice, but psychologically, the more you can offer someone, the more value you can give, to go back to a previous tip, the more people are going to go out of their way to get that value. So if they could back on day 5, their laziness is going to overtake them, and they're going to back on day 5. However, if you incentivize them by giving them free stuff, you get a free sticker, you get a free wallpaper. The more free stuff you can give that isn't available throughout the campaign, well, now it gives them a reason to overcome their laziness and back that campaign early. And the more you can back early, the better your success for the entirety of your campaign. Today's Kickstarter tip is to make your campaign a spectacle. Kickstarter is the closest thing to an online Comic-Con that I've ever seen. You should be treating it as such by offering super cool exclusive perks, doing live chats, engaging with your fans as much as possible, and giving people something they can't get anywhere else. You can do Google Hangouts, Reddit AMAs, or anything that helps bring that con experience, that visceral live experience to your online community. Whatever you do, the simple fact is that Kickstarter is an event, and the more you can treat it as such, the more success you will have. Today's Kickstarter tip is to set up launch and close events for your campaign. You can do this at your house, at a local comic store, at a park, at a restaurant, really wherever, but it's great when people can see you in person. You don't have to spend a lot of money on this event, but you need to get people excited about your project. Remember what we talked about yesterday about Kickstarter being a spectacle? Well, this is a great way to bring that live event excitement to your Kickstarter campaign. People like live events. They like being swept up in the entertainment and the experience. Frankly, most people buy for the experience because there's so much awesome stuff on the market. So you can really set yourself apart by setting up a launch and close event for your campaign. If you're an artist, you can hold a show at a local gallery. If you're a filmmaker, you can hold a trailer screening at a local theater. If you're an author, you can go to a local bookstore and do a signing. The key is you don't have to spend a lot of money on these events. You're just trying to drum up fervent enthusiasm during the first and last days of your campaign, which are the most crucial times your campaign will ever face. And this is something you set up well in advance. And I don't mean don't just book it far in advance, but if you have a place that you'd like to hold it, make friends with the owner. Go in and buy some stuff from them if it's a local comic book shop. But your goal is be able to hold that event for as little as humanly possible. And you do that when you make friends, and I mean real friends, not just the douchey friends who want a favor. I'm saying real friends with the people that own venues. Today's tip is to build press relationships early. Emailing press contacts the day your campaign launches is just too late. The press may have up to a 6-month lead time on getting articles into their pipeline. So if you aren't building your contacts well before that, then the press won't even write a story about you. You need to be fostering these contacts for months or years before you launch a project. We talk about this a lot in our Kickstarter course that you can get at thebusinessofart.us/Kickstarter course for just $7. But you need to be fostering these contacts for months or years before you launch. You can offer to do articles for them, meet them at cons, find them on social media, and treat them like humans, just like you would for anybody else. This, like any other relationship, can't be done with any intent to get something from them. Let me rephrase that. You can't be meeting them with the intention to just use them. Otherwise, this won't work. None of the stuff we're talking about will work. This is about making human relationships. The press are humans, your fans are humans, the retailers are humans. And in order to get them on your side, you have to be friends with them. And friends don't come with contingencies. At least good ones don't. So you need to make these friendships with the press just like you would with anybody else. And the real question you need to ask is, how can I provide value into your life? If you do that, and you're honest, you're authentic, and you're overall friendly, when it's time to email about your project, you make it easy for them to say yes. Today's tip is that your backers will be mostly people you know. No matter how many emails you send to the press, how many cold contacts you make during your campaign, most people that back your campaign will be people you've known for months or years before your campaign launches. That means you need the biggest network of energetic friends and fans before you ever hit the launch button. You should be building this energetic group of people months, years, some of them maybe even decades before your campaign begins. The bigger your network is before your campaign begins, and not just people you know on Twitter, I mean actual people that know, like, and trust you, the more people will back your campaign. John Lee Dumas, who did the Freedom Journal campaign earlier this year, which is one of the top 10 Kickstarter campaigns ever in the publishing category, said on a couple of podcasts that no matter how much press he did, almost all of his donations were from people that were in his existing network before his campaign begins. He raised over $400,000 for his campaign, and even he is saying that most of that is from his existing network. And you know me, I like to model success, and if one of the most successful campaigns ever says that, it's a pretty good bet that it will be the same for you. So start building those contacts now. Remember, it's not in a douchey way. You're not doing this so that they will back your campaign. You're doing it because you want to be friends with these people. You want to engage with them. You want to help them, just like you would for any other friendship. By being a good person and doing things the right way, the byproduct is sales. It is not the goal. Those douchey people are the worst. The ones that are only helping you so that you help them back. They're only friending you so they can ask you a favor. This is not what we're talking about. I know I keep coming back to it over and over again when I'm talking about these tips, but I don't want you to get the wrong idea. You need to go out and make these contacts authentically and genuinely. They need to be real friends of yours. You need to care about them in the way you would care about real friends, because they are real friends. All of these humans that are your fans and buying your product, they're real people, and they deserve to be treated like humans. So you need to go out and build that contact list now. Make it as strong and robust as you possibly can, and the more you can do that, the more success you will have when your campaign launches. Today's tip is that pledge levels should include rewards from all previous tiers. You don't want people hesitating to back a higher tier because they don't want to miss out on something they really wanted from a previous tier. You want it to be very easy for them to up their pledge level. Increasing existing pledges is a crucial part of the middle campaign lull, and any hesitation will prevent you from getting that extra pledge money. If you want to maximize your pledges, make sure that every tier is inclusive of all the tiers that came before it. I had a couple of horror stories in my first couple of campaigns, and it prevented me from making the most on my campaign. So please, please, please make sure that all of your pledge tiers are inclusive of everything that came before it in order to maximize people backing at the highest level and increasing their pledge as they get to know, like, and trust you. So today's tip is to model success. There are hundreds of successful Kickstarter campaigns in your category, either that are going on now or that have gone on in the past. You want to look through them and find the points of commonality between them that made them successful. Take notes of the wordage they use, the imagery, the reward levels, anything that is consistent among the highest performers in your category. Then, when it comes to producing your own campaign, you can model that success in your own campaign for the highest chance of success. If they used 11 images, you should use 11 images. If they talked about what they had for dinner the day before they started the campaign, so should you. This is not stealing, it is modeling success. You want to make your campaign feel like the most successful campaigns in your category. The right title is critical for success. With hundreds of projects to choose from when people scroll through Kickstarter, you only have a second or two to get somebody's attention. With the way Kickstarter's set up, you basically get an image and title to make a backer click on your link. Yes, there's also a small character description underneath, but generally people are looking at that one image and the title of your project before they make a decision to click through. And if they don't click through, you have no chance of having them back your project. And most people think that just a catchy title is enough. However, I'm going to tell you a tip that I learned on Comics Launch podcast, which is that most successful campaigns use all 60 characters to fully explain the reason someone should click on their project. So I'll give you an example. Our Kickstarter is Spaceship Broken Needs Repairs, a sci-fi book about families. Hopefully that last part is what hooks somebody. the title, someone goes, I wonder what that's about. And then after the colon, they say, oh, well, that sounds really interesting. I'll click on that. And so not just having a cool title, but also an explanation after that title is really crucial to your success. You have 60 characters and you should use them all. The better your title is, the better your chance for success. So there you go. 31 Kickstarter tips for 31 days of a Kickstarter campaign. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go to thecompletecreative.com/FKC and pick up our free Kickstarter course. Or head on over to CthulhuIsHardToSpell.com and check out the Kickstarter course that you can get for $100. Or you can do our big Mac Daddy anthology course for $400 that includes our intro Crush It on Kickstarter course. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment today.